I guess people would call Bill Sexton an eccentric, but I wouldn't. Bill Sexton, hold up this. This is just one of many pictures that Bill Sexton drew. This is the 25th anniversary of Herbie Powell. You know who that is?
It's my father.
And who was married right in this building. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
With Millie Watt playing the piano. And so Bill would make these pictures about that size for anyone that had an anniversary or a retirement, and you would just do them. And you just go to Bill and ask him for them, and sure enough, he would come up with it. And at the same time, he was working on the highway department in Situate. Well, my father assigned him the task of writing on the road, making the signs on the road. He was in charge of the signs. And one day he had to write school crossing, and he got into Herald because he spelled school wrong. But Bill was clever. He finally got a little shack that he did his signs in. And once he got enclosed in the shack, he started drawing these pictures for people because there was a demand for them. Selectmen would come to them, and all the people in town would want a picture by Bill Sexton because people were retired. And when people in other towns found out that he did this, they would ask the selectmen, can't you have that man down there in the highway department draw a picture for our retirement Board of Health member? Well, it got to the point where Bill was doing nothing but drawing pictures of these people. And as he drew them, the shack he changed from the shack to the basement of Town Hall. And in fact, he had the whole basement to himself. And he never did go up the road anymore. Situate, for a long period of time, was one of the few towns in Massachusetts that had a professional artist on staff. Bill did thousands of these pictures. And someday I hope that the Historical Society will all get together, ask for these pictures, and have an art show of Bill's stuff. I think that would absolutely sell out. And I can just imagine it when you have the pictures, and then you have to have a story about who these people were, and what that would be just great. I can remember the picture he drew of Bob Tilden, which was an old, with a big pilgrim hat on. Of course, the Tildens did go back to. Did they come over the Mayflower? They came over the next boat. But anyway, where was it? School crossing. Oh, I can tell you a great story about Bill. Bill was an agitator. He'd be the type of guy that if you were in a bar room, he'd come over, he'd say, "You going to let him talk about your wife?" You'd say, "Who? Son of a bitch over there." And then you'd go over to the other guy and he'd say, "That guy's giving you awful funny looks. What have you done anything to him?" And pretty soon there would be a fight. Well, one cold February night, he was up at the old Hadley Inn. Now I got to tell you the story about the Hadley Inn. Hadley Inn is not the beautiful bar and tavern that we see today. Hadley Inn was a bucket of blood. When I was in the National Guard many years ago, I saw we were down the Cape, stationed down the Cape, very difficult. And once we got off at 5 o'clock, we'd go around to all the places down the Cape. And we would see familiar faces. Because on Thursday night, in the 50s, there used to be, well, let me say this, there were certain nights that the cool class of kids 20 and up, they would go to the Mill Pond Club one night, they'd go to the casino in Falmouth another night. But on Thursday nights, they would drive up from the Cape to go to the Hadley Inn. The Hadley Inn had three bars, really. They had a bar in the main place, what we call the grown-ups room. That was a circular bar, and it was really nothing but a bar. Then they had a bar out in the tent, which is now the reception room. That was a tent. There was a bar there. And they had a bar, in case you got thirsty, there was a bar in the corridor between the tent and the main room. And that's what the corridor is where the pub is now. Well, I can remember being up there one night when they had a roller skating act in the main room, on the roller skating around the bar, and in the tent, they had a jazz band going hammers to hell. And it was a wonderful place to go, particularly because there was no age minimum in drinking. It was run by Frank Grady, who was a dwarf, a little tiny man. And his wife was Gert, who was far from being a dwarf. She was a husky woman, and being teenagers, we used to like to go up there and imagine what Gert would look like. But never mind. She was an attractive lady, but she was really well endowed. And, well, does anybody remember Gert?
Yes.
I remember. Anyway, it was a cold February night. Spitting snow, terrible. And Bill was up to the Hadley Inn. There was one or two patrons. Nothing much was going on. No rolls again. And the door opened, and in came a horrible-looking man. Just awful. And Bill, of course, once he got settled, he went over to him and he said, "You're just about the most horrible person I've ever seen in my life." And the man says, "Yes," he says, "I am." He says, I wasn't born this way." He says, "This is a disease. It's called acromegaly." And he said, your features coarsen, and your bones get thick, and you get arthritis in your hands. And it's awful." He says, "You get hunched over like this, and your jaw grows up." He looked like the Swedish Angel. I don't know if the Swedish Angel was a wrestler many years ago. Horrible. You occasionally see people, they're big in the movies, they pick horrible people in the movies. Anyway, he was a horrible looking man. And he said, "Yes, it's been a terrible curse," said the guy. He says, "I've lost my job, my wife left me, I can't see my kids." And he said, "In fact, I don't even have a place to stay tonight." And Bill said, "Well, it's no problem, I know a place to go. It's a nice little bar room, and up above they have 2 or 3 rooms, and they'll put you up if I give you the word. Hop in your car, we'll go flank. Follow me." So they head out in the middle of February down to the Bridgeway. You remember the Bridgeway? We used to have a bar downstairs, and they still have rooms upstairs. So they stopped at the Bridgeway and parked, and Bill says to the guy, "Now give me 5 minutes to prepare everybody before you come in, because you're so horrible." He says, "Let me go in and set everything up, and then come in and act like everything's all right." So Bill goes in and he orders a drink, and he says, "Did you hear about the maniac that escaped from Bridgewater?" Terrible looking man, big coarse eye, hunched over, big thick hand. And then the guy walks in the door and everybody's jumping under the chair.